Alright, hey guys, AnimeWestReacts. Here's some reaction to Summertime Render Episode 6. So this episode, we start off from a different perspective. We go from the perspective of Nagamo, the author, after they get to the island. So yeah, we pretty much see from her perspective of everything. So we have her, passing by Ushio whenever she goes, barreling down the road and her brakes are cut. Ends up noticing the funeral for Ushio, so she goes there. Gets some backstory that they knew each other, or when Ushio was a child, at the very least, they've met. Hizuru, that's her name. So yeah, Hizuru has met, or pretty much left the island, I guess, before Shin showed up, I think is what they say. So yeah, she knows how to discern the shadow, so she steps on Makiri, or Karakiri Masahito, is this, I guess, priest-type character, something like that. So yeah, she steps on his shadow because he talks to her, but yeah, no reaction from it, so he's not a shadow, so yeah, she just doesn't like the guy. And so she is asking questions about Ushio dying. And then he just tries to guess it, and then she's just kind of like, "Now I'm starting to remember why I don't like you," basically. Or she says, "I can't stand you on a physical level," so yeah. Then he calls over Alan, they talk to each other, she says it's been a while. Then we learn that she used to go to the Ushio family diner back when she was in middle school. And the customers would look after Mio and Ushio while Alan was working because his wife died shortly after giving birth to Mio. And so, yeah. Yeah, this book, Training of a Mother and Daughter. It's very adorable kind of moment there, flashback thing. And so, yeah. And then she kind of says, death is kind of thing that can just happen, obviously. So, yeah, she's been off the island for 14 years, so it's not strange that someone she knows has died. And then, yeah, she kind of here's Alan making a phone call, talking about how Mio and Shinpei fell in the ocean, so they'll be late. And then, yeah, she asks about Shinpei, and so he kind of explains that by the time he took him in, she had already left, so he's his best friend's son. And they apparently died in a boating accident, which is kind of sus. I feel. The way they explain it sounds sus. And so, yeah, then she kind of says that she doesn't want to meet him just yet. At least for now, she must avoid him because she's distrustful of everyone because of the shadows. She doesn't know who could be one. And then Alan kind of pulls her over to the side and explains that Ushio was actually possibly murdered because she was strangled. When they found her body, had, marks on the neck. And then Hizuru is kind of just the cops here are incompetent. And this, yeah, because there's only one cop. Yeah, because if she was strangled, she'd probably have, struggled, obviously. And so because of that, usually, she says, victims would often have the criminal's blood and bits of skin under their nails because of, scratching at them and stuff. And so, obviously, the fact that wasn't checked is a big deal. And Alan talks about someone named Ryunosuke dying on that day 14 years ago, and so we get a little flashback of Hizuru crying over her body. And so, yeah, back to the funeral. She goes up to the body and kind of says nothing seems amiss at first glance, and then she runs her fingers on the neck, and they've covered the marks with makeup or something. That's when she asks who dressed the body, and then Alan says it was a nurse from the clinic. And then Hizuru just leaves. And so yeah, then her friend we saw in the flashback shows up and starts like sobbing and talking to her about Ushio, and then yeah, Hizuru's kind of like, why is it crying? So it's a shadow. So yeah, she's like, why is it crying? And then because yeah, she like steps on the shadow, and you can see like the way it works is that the shadow will like move itself around her foot to like avoid being stepped on. And so yeah, pretty much the entire family of Shiori is shadows now. So she goes and meets up with Nezu, the old hunter guy we saw in like episode 1 or 2, who talked to Shin. The guy who explained shadow sickness to Shin and Mio in that one loop. And so yeah, he's like acquainted with Hizuru, and she's kind of or he tells her about how there's one that can like create multiple shadows. So yeah, explains about multiple shadows, how that whole thing. She says that's not like the shadow she knows, the fact it can do it, and how Shiori was drowning, and she poses an idea that Shiori was drowning not because of an accident, but because the shadow was attacking her, and then when she died, it just copied her and took her place and pretended like it had drowned, or acted like the shadow was the one drowning, and then killed her parents afterwards. And so yeah, she's like crying. Obviously, she knew the people, and then we see Mio walking along the beach. And then we go over to Shin's perspective in the second half of the episode. He's just going about like the whole situation. He's like retracing his steps, basically. Talks to Shiori about the shadows, tells her to stay away from them. She sees them, things like that. And then after the funeral session, that's when the shadow parents come over to talk to him, and then he sees an ant crawling across them, and like how the shadows evade it, so he figures out that. Or he figures all three of them are shadows, and yeah. Then he really seriously asks, the question of what color underwear she was wearing yesterday. Because he saw the one shadow mirrors were wearing, and so yeah, he's like trying to, figures his only option is to defeat them to protect Mio. Shadow Mio creates a shadow of Alan. Whew. So it could go and try to copy him, but Hizuru or Shin is also like asking questions to people of, have you heard of shadow sickness, and have you seen a well-endowed lady? It's just two questions he asks people. And so yeah, it gets different answers from different people. And so yeah, Alan kind of points out a bit being Hizuru, and gives her that she apparently gave him a piece of paper with a code basically. And so Shin, having read her book, is able to figure out that it's Hizuru's contact information. Alan after that goes to the bathroom, and then Shin calls the number. It turns out it's the second phone that Hizuru gave Nezu earlier in the episode. So yeah, he pretty much tells Shin to head to front of leave the funeral hall and go back to the funeral hall is what he says. And so yeah, the shadow Alan gets taken out by Hizuru, and yeah, Nezu shoots Shin's shadow with a sniper shot. Or shoots at Shin's shadow, pretty much, because that's how you defeat them, as you hit the shadow rather than the person above it. And so yeah, Alan's shadow is dealt with, and then they go and, or Nezu or Hizuru, one of them, calls Shin out to this specific place, and that's where they meet. And then the episode ends off with Shin getting an autograph from, because in the previous loop, Hizuru had told him to tell him her name, or tell Shin to tell Hizuru his name, basically, and that she would save him. And so yeah, she gives him the autograph, and then pretty much deduces that he must be a time traveler, because this morning he didn't know who she was, and then now he does, and they never met for him to tell her that, or her to tell him that, blah. So yeah, only other option really is that he's relived this day. But yeah, so good episode. Hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, comment on the video, subscribe for more anime reaction reviews and manga reviews, and I'll see y'all next time. So yeah, later.